Good morning. A warm welcome to Uganda First, a program brought to you by the National Secretariat of Patriotism Clubs. Thank you for watching the show every Thursday and for feedback. I know that by now you can at least assess the patriotism in you. You know where you are doing well and where you need to put emphasis or to improve. And you know how to spread word about patriotism and that you are committed to change this country for the better. Many times we talked about love for country, but like we have said, always, love does not stop at waving the national flag and singing the national anthem. Today, we're going to discuss a patriotic citizen and how they can safeguard or protect infrastructure. The basic structures here are the ones I'm talking about. For example, roads, power and water supply that are needed for operation of society and or an enterprise, if you like. We know that once such infrastructure is disrupted, it can threaten national security, public health and safety, and way of life as we know it generally. Services and systems that make up our critical infrastructure can be found in the public and private sector, without doubt. We want them to exist without single interruption. What do you do when you find that a road is damaged? Do you tell anybody if you find a water pipe damaged? Or if you know of individuals who vandalize public infrastructure, do you report? The two gentlemen with me in studio work with public entities that provide very useful infrastructure that enables our day-to-day activities run smoothly. To start with is Mr. Charles Kizito. He's the head of strategy from Uganda National Roads Authority. We also have Mr. Mahmoud Lutaya. He's a general manager at National Water and Sewerage Corporation in charge of Kampala. Good to have you in studio, gentlemen. Welcome to Uganda First.
Thank you.
On this show, we talk about patriotism at length. We've had several episodes talking about love for country, first of all. You know how a patriotic citizen can be a part of development and many more topics. But today we want to focus on the role of citizens in safeguarding or protecting public infrastructure. You happen to come from public entities that have a lot of this infrastructure. The roads, for example. Mr. Kizito there, head of strategy. The water, without water, you know the noise on radio, TV, social media, everywhere. No water, and that kind of thing. But today, we want to reawaken the patriotism in us. Talk about how we can safeguard this infrastructure and make sure they continue to serve us smoothly. Mr. Kizito from UNRA. Maybe you can start by telling us what is happening now at UNRA. Anything new that we've not heard about?
Thank you, Frank. Good morning, viewers. It's a pleasure to be here.
Please.
UNRA is a government entity. Government is taking the road infrastructure as an important part of its development agenda. And because of that aspect, being the fact that for the last over 10 years, it's been investing a lot in the road infrastructure, and it has a dedicated organization, which is UNRA, which is supposed to be looking after planning, developing, maintaining that infrastructure. That is the purpose for which the Uganda National Roads Authority was established, and the reason why it exists. So my being here is really to explain to our viewers what we do, our role, and the role of everyone, including the citizen of Uganda, as far as road infrastructure is concerned.
And also make us feel a part of you.
Absolutely.
Some people tend to think that the roads business, that's a concern of government alone.
Absolutely.
But I know that we've lost a lot. I see sometimes the metalworks you do on the roads being vandalized, the roads themselves being spoiled by some individuals. And that's what we want to talk about today.
Yes.
So for starters, at UNRA, I don't know, being a head of strategy, I don't know whether you have a strategy that aims at engaging the public to tell them that this is actually your property. It's a public good, but take it like it's yours. Safeguard it, report whoever vandalizes and that kind of thing.
Yes, we do have a very elaborate process as far as our business is concerned. The organization is looking after over 21,000 kilometers of national roads, and that includes about 500 bridges and has about 11 ferries. So that's quite an awesome big infrastructure as far as the nation is concerned. And to be honest, Frank, that is perhaps one of the biggest and most expensive asset that this country possesses, single asset that this country possesses. So when we're talking about road infrastructure, we're talking about big business, we're talking about expensive business, we're talking about valuable stuff. Now, the responsibility of the organization is really to make sure that government gets value for money, the people of Uganda get value for money. And in everything that we have to do, we definitely have to make sure that we do consultation with the public. Now, where does the public come in? It is the constitutional right of every Ugandan to participate in the development of their country. That is like the third level. But first and foremost, by electing the right leaders, once you've elected your leaders, you've paid your taxes, you now have to participate. And it's a constitutional right that you actually do participate.
The duties of a citizen.
Yes. So how does Uganda National Roads Authority ensure that that happens? Now, from the time we do start an appraisal of a project, we have very extensive consultations that are undertaken. And every citizen is supposed to actually participate as long as that infrastructure or project is going to touch their life in any way. If they're going to affect the project or the project is going to affect them. So you'll be surprised that actually more time is spent in that preparation of such a project than what it takes to construct that. We normally focus so much on the construction of that project because that's where the real money goes. But Frank, we take almost 3 to 4 years preparing a project. That, what goes on in there is actually a very consultative process from all the way from the bottom of the communities all the way up to the top. So by the time Parliament approves the project and says this is the one where we're going to appropriate money for the next financial year and so on, that project has gone through the past 3 years of nothing but just consultative process.
What's the hindrance? Why does it take that long to plan for a single project? Because
the dynamics and the parameters that you need to make a decision where to put that money and come up with the optimal solution, it takes a lot of effort, number one, and it takes a lot of studying. Now, because we don't have a lot of money, Frank, we are a country that is still developing. If we had money, probably we'd put money everywhere we want. But because we have to make the right choice at that particular time, the demand is so big and there's so much that people need. By the time we have chosen that the people who are going to receive funding for a project is now Kiramatuga, where I know you have an interest.
Very much.
We really have taken time to make sure that that road will, first of all, give us the returns that we need. It has people who need it, and it has the traffic that will use it. We have the money to construct that road, and we have the money to maintain it. So the people who are going to be affected by that road in Kiramatuga really have to demonstrate themselves that they need the road. Because there are other people who have that money. If they don't, there is always going to be another place. And you've seen the president going around and makes pledges, and he says, yes, we will. Now, that decision to make that at that point that, this is where Parliament shall appropriate money this year is not a very easy one. So, but then also the type of design that we make for the roads are determined by how the people are going to use that road. If you need, depending on what you're actually producing in your area, for instance, if we're talking agricultural areas or we're talking about tourism areas, we don't just put a road there for the sake of it. We have to make sure that we actually design a road that is fit for purpose and is going to serve the purpose for which it is intended in that area. So that's why you see different designs, different costs, different outputs, different timelines, everything. So these roads differ depending on what you've actually studied over the period of time to come up with a optimal road design for that place.
All right, that's a good background. Mr. Mahmoud, you can tell us briefly where you are right now at National Water and Sewerage Corporation. Again, what is new? I know that Katosi is trending these days.
Katosi is trending. So good morning, viewers, and we're very privileged to be here. As you know, National Water is also a 100% government entity, and our mandate is to provide water and sewage services to the towns that have been gazetted to us by the ministry. Right now, we are operating in over 258 towns across the country. That's where we operate. So we are not just in Kampala, but we are everywhere within the country. So our mandate is, one, we also develop infrastructure as far as water and sewage services are concerned, but also most importantly, we operate it and make sure that people get water. And as of now, one of the most interesting projects that the people of Kampala have been waiting for, the Katosi project, I would say right now we have it. It's a journey we've taken. Frank has talked about how long it takes to design, develop, and implement a project. And I would say Katosi has been one of those projects that people of Kampala have waited for a long time. We want to appreciate the patience the people have had with us. We've gone through years of challenges where people haven't had water. But right now, as I speak, we've started operating the system. A number of places that usually never had water at all have started receiving water. There are customers in Mukono.
Is it operating in full or in parts for now?
I would say it's operating it's not fully 100% operational, because we are having the final handover of the system on Monday. That's when National will take 100% responsibility of operating it. But I would say, even as I speak right now, most of the customers that have been challenged with water supply challenges are now enjoying reliable water supply. Places like Mukono were seriously challenged. People in Seta have had serious challenges. We had parts of Namugongo, Chira, Chalwajela, you said also around that area. We've been having very serious challenges with limited water supply, and I'm very happy to be here. And also we're discussing a very important subject of patriotism, and there's no infrastructure or there's no service that goes that touches that subject than like water, because water, they always say water is life.
True.
Both at an individual level, but also at a national level. And if you want to test that, we've had challenges where our system is down for just a few hours.
Yes.
And then the whole community and the whole country is up in arms. So I think as National Water, we have that commitment of making sure that we do everything possible to make sure that people get water. And where do we involve the citizens? Like my colleague has said, like the mandate of National Water is both in developing the infrastructure, but also in operating it. And we involve the community in the two aspects of our operation. At the point of developing the projects, we involve them all the way from the start of the project when we're doing the visibilities, identifying which project is supposed to be done, which kind of community is supposed to serve. We have the communities fully involved. But most importantly, also we've tried to engage the communities in the implementation and operation of the project. And we've tried to come up with quite a number of initiatives and interventions that are supposed to make sure that we have as much involvement of the stakeholders and community as possible. As a corporation, we have what we call the Water Baraza. We have these forums every year where we identify all the key stakeholders. These barazas are held at regional level. Like I mentioned earlier, National Water is operating in over 258 towns across the country. So our forums are not just for the national forum, but also we have regional forums. And these barazas help us to do consultations, but most importantly also get feedback from the communities and also provide accountability as an organization on what we are doing, what the expectations of the public is, and how can we enhance and strengthen the relationship between the utility and the customers that receive the service. So these barazas are held on an annual basis in the different regions of the corporation, and these are some of the means that we have in how we involve and engage the community in our operation.
Did you have one last year?
We had one last year, and given the situation we're in right now, it was a scientific one. we try as much as possible to utilize the digital platform to reach as many customers as possible. So we had it at around August. That's when we held it, and we tried as much as possible to make sure that it goes as far deep to all our towns as possible. So these forums help us, one, to strengthen that relationships we have with the communities and the customer, but most importantly also to get feedback from the customers and the public on where they believe the corporation can do better as far as providing the service is concerned. But also the way we are structured as an organization, like I mentioned, National Water is operating across the country. So we have what we call operational areas in all the towns. Like when you look at Kampala, we treat it as one of the operation areas. Now we have offices in Barara, in Moroto. Now these offices in each of our operation areas, we've established what we call the water user committees. So within these committees, you have...
who sits on the committee?
We have a representative from a customer. We have most of the local authorities. So be it the town clerk, be it some of the political leadership within the district, and then also some of the critical customers. So they represent the different segments of the stakeholders we serve within that community. Now we utilize these platforms, first of all, to engage the communities in terms of providing accountability on what the organization is offering, but also most importantly, we use them as feedback and strengthen the involvement of the community in the services the corporation is providing. The other step we're trying to go to is establishing what we also want to call the neighborhood watch committees. So like I would say in Kampala, we is structured in, we have 25 branches across the Kampala metropolitan
area.
When we talk about Kampala, it covers Wakiso, parts of Wakiso, and then parts of Mukono, and then the Kampala district. So in order to...
How does the neighborhood watch operate?
Neighborhood watch, we're trying to structure it along territories. So we have the branches, and we have demarcated our areas in 2 territories. A territory has close to around 2,000 customers. So within the territories, we're trying to establish the neighborhood watch committees, and these are supposed to again help us to safeguard the infrastructure that we have developed within those areas, but also help us to strengthen the involvement and engagement of the communities at a smaller scale than having it at an area level. So these are some of the other number of initiatives we're trying to undertake as a corporation. One, to engage and involve the customer and the public in our services, but most importantly, getting feedback on how far we can serve the communities better.
People getting to understand what you want to arrive to, do they know that your infrastructure is actually for their good, to make sure that day-to-day activities run without any interruption, or smoothly for that matter?
The beauty with water is...
Because as we speak, I still see you running around with people you call water thieves. What's that term?
Because the illegal users.
Illegal users. You still lose a big percentage of the supply to
yeah, and
thefts.
vandalism is still a big challenge we're having. But like I was saying, the beauty with water is it touches people's lives. Yeah. So, and we've, as a corporation, we've invested a lot in sensitizing and educating the public and our customers on the value of water and why water is so critical. Before there were always those perceptions that water is a free good. All you have to do is go to the lake and pick it. But through engagement and sensitization, people have come to appreciate, first of all, the value of water, and most importantly, how important it is to their lives, and why it's also very important for them to safeguard the infrastructure. One of the biggest benefits we have as a corporation, when you look at most of our social media platforms, the feedback we get in terms of reports on whether there are broken pipes, whether the leakages, they're coming from the public. So it already shows you that there's that very strong sense of patriotism from the public. When someone sees a broken pipe, people can have 10 people tweeting, about it. So it shows that the public is really concerned that you have a very important resource that is being wasted. But also they know that when you have a broken pipe here, it's actually could be affecting the supply in your area. So it's an area that we are putting a lot of emphasis on, but also we want to appreciate the public and the support they've given us. Now, when it comes to vandalism and the thieves, we're talking about the people stealing water, it's still one of the biggest challenge we have as a corporation. On average, every month we get almost 80 people confirmed to be stealing water on a monthly basis.
80 per area.
This is just only in Kampala
district?
alone.
Kampala.
Yeah, Kampala alone. Every month we get to, after thorough investigations, we find that we have 80 people who are stealing water, and we get so many reports of people who are vandalizing our system. And so water theft is now, sometimes you find that it's happening at individual level, and most of the people who are actually stealing water are not necessarily the badly off, you know, people of the community.
So
in most cases, they are
in high
the
class
well
suburbs. Yes.
Yeah, the well of members of community, the rich, I would say, are the ones that you find
with
stealing water.
Illegal connections.
They have illegal connections. They bypass the meter. And the reasons why they do it is purposely for selfish and individual reasons. But the good news is, on our side, we have had partnerships, especially with the security agencies.
Okay.
We have a very strong partnership with police, and we have established, as a corporation, we have
plus
our
the
own
neighborhood watch. Do they help?
Plus the neighborhood watch committees that we're trying to establish.
Okay.
All these are mechanisms that we're going to use to make sure that we hold such individuals and culprits accountable.
All right, Mr. Chisto, if you're working on a project, let's say Kampala Northern Bypass or wherever you're working now, what is my role as a citizen? How am I supposed to help? How can I be a part of this?
Frank, thank you for that question. For such a project, first of all, during its preparation, as I mentioned earlier, we have to identify who it is going to affect. Many a time, especially when we have new construction where there is hardly anything in a green field, we are going to disrupt lives. So we have to take care and take account of such disruptions, because you find somebody, they had their livelihood, and suddenly you're bringing development to them, even when they didn't ask. So, but for the good of the public, the project has to go ahead. So we have to handle such people in a special way. During that acquisition of that land for the right of way for the project, that's the number one project affected person that we have to deal with. Then in the preparation of most of these construction of these projects, we make provision to ensure that local labor is actually part of the framework within which the contractor is going to execute that project. So it is mandatory for the contractors to use local people, and that is a provision that we put within the contracts. Now, during the construction, we also expect that people must obey the instructions of the contractor. This is mainly for safety reasons. So it's the responsibility of every citizen, whoever is using that road, because most times we actually have live traffic while the construction goes on. So it's a very dangerous area that we are dealing with. Then we have the expectation of the citizens in such a community, because if you have a road, it's actually your road. The contractor is incapable of ensuring security 24 hours all the time. And this is a very expensive project in terms of the equipment and the input that they have to put on the site. So as citizens, we really have to make sure that the contractor is able to complete and accomplish the project within the time and the cost by not stealing anything from the project. We've had cases where the contracts have actually been abandoned back in the day, where the contractor was incapable of going ahead because they were siphoning fuel, they were doing everything possible. Then when that project is completed and it is handed over to government, where government is represented by UNRWA, UNRWA gives it back to the community. Now the community is supposed to be looking after such an infrastructure. As I mentioned, this is a very expensive infrastructure. Really what is expected is to use it responsibly but also protect it, but also avoid destruction. It is very disappointing most times when you have such a project, it's been completed, and then at the slightest of disruption within the community, for whatever reason, the first thing is a bonfire in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Now, that is very irresponsible, and I think it reflects very badly on the community or the people who are actually doing such a thing. It clearly shows that you have no sense of understanding that government taxed you to build that road so that you can use it. Now, you still need that road, whether you've burnt it or not. The only way government is going to reinstate that road is to tax you. So if we don't understand that, there's no other money that is going to come from anywhere. Whether it's borrowed or not, it's still money that has to come from you and me. So when that asset is actually destroyed, the moment you make a demand that it has to be reinstated, government has to pick from the coffers our money to reinstate it. So that is the line within which we actually have to understand.
By vandalizing, you bring yourself a disservice.
The contractor's role, our role, and UNRWA's role, and government's role, and the citizens' role all along. You need to contribute in terms of providing the labor, in terms of providing the input materials, in terms of looking after the project or the contractor's safety of their equipment, making sure people don't steal it. And then when it is completed, let's avoid the vandalism. Let's protect the project, because also UNRWA's presence there is definitely not going to be 24 hours. More than, you are the eyes on the road. UNRWA is only going to put a phone number there. When something happens, please call us. But by the time we come, something has already gone wrong.
All right, later on you'll tell us what the situation is like in terms of, you know, the vandalism that was happening back then and now. Has it reduced? If it hasn't, what are you doing about it? But before we go there, let's take a look at some of the people we spoke to about this same topic, the role of a citizen or citizens in safeguarding or protecting public infrastructure.
Enkulakulana nga ya Nayikondo mu bitundu nungi nnyo ddala era kyekimu ekikuuma obulamu okunywa amazzi amalungi, naye ekizibu ekiriwo gavumenti bwe tuterawo nga Nayikondo ezo ne wabeerawo n'ababaka abakiika ebiteeso byaffe by'okuba nga tufuna Nayikondo ezo tetubikozesa bulungi ate nga biriyamba ffe. Kyetulina okukola gavumenti bwe besobodde otuteekawo naffe twekolemu omulimu, tunoonyewo abasaale abasobola okuba nga bagirabirira ne bwe tutoolayo kafi akatonotono kasobole okuba nga kagiwa tufuna saavisi yaayo singa eba eyonoonese, kubanga nkulakulana nnungi nnyo.
Nakino eky'obuyonjo kusuula ebintu mu mwala kwonoona nguudo kyandibadde kiri ku bakulembeze nti batufosinga ero manti kati nkoze ekintu bwe kiti nkikoledde mu bukyamu ngenda kusibwa oba ngenda kuwenga sibweti. Singa kinaavaayo eggwanga lyaffe lijja kutereera nga manya nti singa nkwata bino kasasiro ne mumalaga mu maasa mu mwala ne bankwatako oba omuntu yenna nankwatako bwati ngenda kuwenga sibweti, tetujja kuddamu kukola kintu bwe kino. Tujja kukuuma ekitundu kyaffe nga kiyonjo ate nga n'ebintu ebikoleddwa tubikuumye nga biri ku mutindo gwennyini nnyini.
Oba kulongoosa taapu ng'eyo baba bajjeeko kakwata akasumulula amazzi bakamusasuze emirundi ng'ebiri. Oluguudo bagenda ne balukola nga lulina kutibwako ttaani ze baba bagambye, naye ogenda okulaba emmotoka nga ttaani ezo si ze zirina okuyitako. Kyekiziviirako okufa, ndoze kyendowooza kiziviirako okufa amangu. Naye singa bamenya amateeka eza ttaani ezo ezirina okutibwako ne zigenda nga ziyitako, amateeka gakole emmotoka ezo babe nga bazisasuza, sinakindi okuba nga zikwatibwa ddala. Naye era bwe mmenya amateeka nange envunaanibwe okusinziira nga bwe kiba kyetaagisibwa okuvunaanibwa.
Obuvunaanyizibwa abantu babulina abawansi, naye etteeka teritukkiriza. Oluguudo oluva Empereerwe okudda e Nammere oluguudo lufu nnyo, naye ate ffe bakinnoomu tebatukkiriza kukola luguudo olwo. Basaa batukkiriza oli obusobozi weebuli okuleeta ettaka n'oyiwa mu binnya ebyo ne biziba, ffena netambula bulungi. Naye bw'oleetera ettaka eryo n'oliyiwamu bakuggaya buggalizi, bagamba oyingidde omulimu gwa gavumenti.
Omuntu bw'aweebwa obuvunaanyizibwa nti oba kulabirira nguudo, ekinnya ne kibeerawo oba ne kibomoka ne kimenya abantu babiri, amazzi ne gabeerangawo, oli n'ayisamu emmotoka n'egwamu, okiraba n'endala nejja neegwamu n'abavunaanyizibwako nga bababuulira naye nga tebafuddeeyo okiraba kati buli omu okukola omulimu ogwo buvunaanyizibwa bwe n'abutuukiriza ensi lwesobola okutereera.
Okukulaakulanya enguudo, okuzimba amalwaliro, okuzimba amasomero kyekituyambako ebimu okuleeta kwekulaakulana mu nsi yaffe n'okwongera emirimu okukola okunyiikira okukola ne tukole ebintu ebituzimba mu nsi yaffe wano n'eggwanga lyaffe okutwaliza awamu ng'ate tugondera n'abakulembeze.
All right, some of the people we spoke to yesterday, many of them were business people in Kalerwe, near Kampala. Do you agree with them? They were speaking Luganda, but I know you both understand the language. I heard somebody saying, let people be fined. There should be a fine. I know that you're doing this with the trucks that carry all sorts of goods. If they exceed a certain tonnage, I think.
Yes, Frank, we operate within laws, and we operate the road network within laws, which are already established, and we have regulations that actually operationalize those laws. And some of the regulations have very stringent enforcement and provisions within there, in case you've actually failed to work within the law. Number one, I think you've noticed some of the accidents that occur on the road these days. The police actually, when they arrest you, they confiscate the vehicle, and then they take note of the destruction you've made on the road. The reason why they do that is you cannot reclaim your vehicle until you've actually made good. That's a requirement.
But has it happened? Is there somebody who has paid money?
It is happening.
You fixed the metalworks?
Yes. If you look at that Entebbe Expressway, it's a very good example. We don't have money to put back these things. It's actually the people who are replacing those things. They may take a bit of while because of the processes through which you have to go, but they actually do replace those things. If someone is recklessly driving and it damages part of a gantry, he has to replace it. So that provision is there, and it is working. Some of them try to escape, but they just never get back their vehicles. So there are provisions which are already in place.
But how do you assess that this accident happened, because of reckless driving or because of mechanical failure? How do you come?
You see,
that?
Once you've destroyed what was good, it doesn't matter what happened. The responsibility is yours. It just doesn't have to be government. It can't be me and you, Frank, to pay for someone's
all the time
misdemeanors. No. Somebody has to pay, and at that moment you are on site. It just happens to be that you actually did cause the damage. So I think it's a no-brainer that somebody has to pay, and it happens to be you. Whether you had somebody, under the circumstances, you might have caused an accident because of something that may not have been your fault, but the truth is, you actually are the one who did.
Is that for selected roads or for all roads that you're in charge?
All the roads we are in charge, because the regulations do not actually differentiate between whether it's in Kampala or it's all national roads. All the regulations apply to the entire national road network. Now, the other ones is the other regulations. Of course, we have the responsibility of protecting the destruction of the roads because of the overloading. As you know, the roads are designed to serve a certain life, and that life is measured within the loading that we apply on that road. Now, if you abuse the road by overloading, it means you reduce the lifespan of that road. So we are very careful to make sure that people do not abuse that provision, the limits that we've given them. So we have enforcement within the organization to make sure that we check all vehicles that are using the road network, to make sure that they are within the loading limits. That's the number one distraction, apart from the environment, of course, but the number one distraction of the roads is the overloading. So these guys are fined, and that money government keeps and takes back into the treasury and is used back in the road.
Please help us make that public so that people are aware.
Yes.
I didn't know, for example, that the expressway and others maybe that you've not mentioned, that you can actually pay if you cause destruction there.
Yes, they do. Even the axle loading guys, I think you've had some people complaining that the money is too much. But if you don't want to pay that money, then you better
load as directed.
Yes, absolutely.
Mohammed,
the reason why it is expensive, Frank, and I need to explain this to the public, because yes, it's not a decision that me and you just sit down and say, why doesn't this guy pay 5 million? That money that is being paid is commensurate to the cost. As I've explained, roads are very expensive. If you destroy something that is very expensive, you also have to pay money that is fairly high to replace that damage. So that's why these penalties are fairly high and stiff. First of all, to act as a disincentive to go for the alternative of the vice of overloading. But secondly, also to make it commercially possible for the organization to reinstate or repair the damage.
Mohammed, I see pipes broken after road works are done, especially Maram roads, and it is always national water fixing those pipes. Why don't you take the UNRA path as well? It could save you the cost.
There are two perspectives to that. Why Nashuta rushes to fix those pipes is because of the customer who is suffering. Most cases, the person who is not getting water might not have been part of the destruction. So as a corporation, what we do as one of the efforts to make sure that our people get water is we immediately fix the road. But I mean the pipes.
The pipe.
But what we do also is to invoice the contractors, the culprits who have broken, who have damaged the pipe. So they are supposed to pay for the damage they've caused on the pipe. So in order to avoid the impact the customers go through, because you can imagine if you first start asking this person to repair the road, it will take even a week before it's repaired. But at the end of the day, knowing that the customer is not getting water for almost 5 days. As a corporation, we're a bit more responsive. We first fix the pipe to make sure that people get water, and then we invoice the contractor or the culprits that have broken that pipe and make sure that they pay. Some of them haven't been paying, even when invoice, but some area we're trying to enforce that when you damage our pipes, you're expected to pay with costs.
All right, we're going to take a short break, and later on I'll be able to read some of the messages you've sent through WhatsApp. Our number is right there on screen. You can share your thought, your opinion about the role of citizens in safeguarding or protecting public infrastructure. What are you doing yourself? What is the patriotism in you saying right now? If you see somebody damaging Uganda First, thank you for staying with us. And viewers online, Facebook and YouTube, thank you so much. The program is brought to you by the National Secretariat for Patriotism Clubs. We are talking about the role of citizens in safeguarding public infrastructure with a background of patriotism. Because a patriotic citizen, it is your duty to make sure that this infrastructure exists so that it helps us run our day-to-day activities. Because like we said in the start, without water, without roads, without electricity, we can have a mess. I would like to ask a question in relation to environment. I start with you, maybe Head of Strategy, UNRA. How are you making sure that your works go on, but cognizant of the issue of sustaining the environment as well?
Frank, the issue of sustainability is at the forefront of every decision that we make as far as road infrastructure development is concerned. First of all, sustainability means we actually have to put in place infrastructure now that we can use, but also the future generation can use it. So we don't do things that are going to be used for the sake of solving a problem right now. Now, the design and all the solutions that we provide as far as the roads is concerned put into life into perspective. And the reason why we put life into perspective is really to get the optimal costing the economics versus the technical needs that we have, so that we come up with an appropriate solution. Now, when we say that we have designed a bridge for 50 years, we could have designed one for 20 years. In any case, you know, it still can serve. But the reason why we do that is we put so much into it, the public cannot afford to have that road connection gone away while you design another one. So you find that now we've actually increased it to 100 years. You know, we have bridges that are designed for that much long. Our roads are also designed for 15 years on average. We normally renew them thereafter and so on. But the plans that we have thereafter is actually what ensures that our intended design life is achieved or is extended, because the utility of that asset is what gives it the sustainability aspect. Now, if we have the environment within which these roads is being used, which is harsh, it means it curtails. But how does that environment really come to curtail our infrastructure? It is the way the public uses the environment. If we take away the swamps, we fill and clog the drainage, it means we actually do curtailing the life of our infrastructure, because roads is all about drainage. If we don't serve good drainage, have good drainage services for the roads, it means they will not serve their life. So the responsibility as far as the citizen is concerned, is to ensure that they look after the environment responsibly, to make sure that we do not destroy the drainage, we do not create flooding, because that is one of the after effects of misuse of the environment, which now affects our road network. Now, when you have such occurring, then you have an effective, a network that is not effective and is not going to be functional throughout the year. The moment simple rains come like this, you have flooding and the road is not is just not there, or you have a cutoff. So that is the effect of the public on the roads and the effect of our actions on the road, on the infrastructure. So we both have to play our role to complete the cycle, to make sure that that environment is well managed, both from the planning aspect, for the use of the infrastructure, and everything around that infrastructure, to make sure that it serves its full life.
Mohammed, environment, sustainability.
I think when you talk about water and environment, the environment is a critical aspect of our operation, and we are of recent, one of the biggest challenges we've been facing, or we still face right now, is the impact of climate change as far as providing water is concerned. So as a corporation, we consider environmental protection and conservation as a critical aspect of our strategies. We have tried to make sure that all our plants, we have what we call source protection plans that are aimed at making sure that at least the water resources where we get the water are secured for now and the future. So each of our systems, we've developed source protection plans, and the source protection plans have a component of engagement of the stakeholders and the communities around the sources where we get our water from, and the interventions that we undertake in the different towns. Like I said, we're operating across the country, so the interventions are unique to the context and the requirement of that particular area, and this involves a wide range of activities that include securing the upstream of the source, planting trees where we've engaged communities into tree planting activities, and also changing the activities that are being undertaken in different areas. We find that maybe people are being farming close to the water source, and you realize the farming activities have significant impact on the
source where you tap the water.
So through engagement of the communities, we've tried to work together to make sure that at least the community understands the impact of their actions, and they're able to secure and safeguard the important resource. So we have on all our towns, most of our plans, we've tried to make sure that we have source protection plans, which plans have engagement of the communities and the surrounding as one of the key interventions to make sure that we protect the environment, but also the sources where we get water. Now also we have very aggressive programs we're undertaking at a national level recently, I don't know whether you saw, we have what we're calling the NWC Treevolution campaign, where as a corporation...
Industry revolution?
Treevolution.
Treevolution.
We're trying to revolutionize tree planting.
Okay.
And in that campaign, we're trying to, as a corporation, champion planting over 10 million trees across the country within 1 year. And these are some of the interventions. We're partnering with the communities, with our customers, to give back to the environment. So Treevolution is a partnership between National and the customers to give back to the environment, to protect the environment. But also the other specific interventions. We have what we're calling the Pollution Control Committee that is supposed to safeguard the pollution in the Nachivo channel. So the partnership, we have National, KCCA, and some of the industries that have been discharging in that channel to make sure that we are all working together to protect, to safeguard, you know, the impact the activities can have on the water resources. So environmental protection is very critical for us, and we are putting a lot of priority to it.
Have you told clients about the Treevolution? I
Treevolution
want to hear that message come out loud.
Yeah, Treevolution was a very big thing, and one of the interesting partnerships we had with one of the estates in Bulindo. It's called Shimon Estates. It's an estate of almost 500 households. And what we did with the estate management team, on a Saturday we had a campaign where each household committed to plant 2 trees.
At least 2.
Yeah, and then we provided, as a corporation, we worked with the NFA and the Ministry of Water, and we provided the 2 trees, and then the households went ahead and make sure that they plant those trees. And also we had a tree for every customer campaign, which we had last month, where the corporation was providing a tree for every customer, and that was a very popular exercise.
Is that after I clear your bill?
No, you don't have to clear your bill as long as you're a customer. We offer you a tree. Instead of bringing you a bill, we bring you a tree of your choice. It can be a fruit tree,
okay.
It can be a medicinal tree, it can be a shade tree. So we've been offering trees to each of our customers, and we make sure that this campaign runs during the rain season, because it doesn't make sense having it during the dry season. And I think the next rain season we're going to run the same campaign. And we believe, because like I said, the corporation has almost 800,000 customers. So if each customer can plant a tree or 2 or 3, that is already
800,000. That's in your area?
No, 800,000 is the whole country. Kampala alone has almost 400,000 customers. So if each customer in Kampala can plant 2 trees, that's 1 million trees planted, more or less. And that's why we believe as a corporation we can make an impact on the environment by partnering with the customers. You make the customer appreciate why do they need to plant a tree. You don't need a big forest, you know, you can plant a tree in your home.
Okay.
And 2 trees in your home can end up having 1 million trees across the
Charles, you want supplement?
Yes, I just wanted to add one thing to supplement my brother here. UNRWA has 21,000 kilometers of roads, as I've mentioned. Now, those roads are within what we call a road reserve. And that road reserve covers about between 15 meters to 30. Some of them have even gone beyond. That's a huge piece of land that we actually do have. And we realize that it is important to make use of that land, first of all, to protect it from encroachers, but also to make good use of it. And as such, we developed a program called the Green Right of Way, GROW. It's called GROW. And the intention is to make sure that Green Right of Way. The intention is to make sure that we line that entire reserve with trees that are actually serve the purpose for today. Of course, we need the shade, we need the trees, and also we need to have to protect the road reserve as well. But also, it also provides labor and activities to the people within that, where that road passes, because the program, whereas UNRWA is growing the seedlings and making sure we have the beds that are well developed, we now have a program which is going to be implemented through the parish model, which was introduced recently, to make sure that in those communities, people are given those, they look after a stretch of that road, the trees within that within their jurisdiction. So it's a program that is already being. I don't know if you've seen some of these trees.
I've seen some beautiful spots with trees, especially on the expressway.
Expressway and a couple of others where we've put most of these. It's already running.
Okay, that's good. Let's take a look at some of the messages coming in from viewers. We're going to focus on WhatsApp. Roger, is thanking us for the show. Let us. Hey. Am I missing a word? Okay. The principle of damage and repair, especially to You must have missed a word, Roger. Simon Opoloti Bukedia, may I know who is in charge of roads leading to village centers? Sometime back in the 19th century, the local leader could mobilize the community to clean or slash such roads, but today nobody is bothered to take care of such roads leading to village centers. What happened to, you call it what, labor maintenance? Labor maintenance. Thank you for the program. I think Ugandans, it is high time we believed in each other's capacity. Some other people think that people like the Lord Mayor has not done anything given all the time. Let's give the new cabinet a chance. Are you responding to our topic or something else? Okay. Kindly find out from National Water why we are currently having tea water in areas like Chisasi, Bukoto Chisasi. Mazigaringa Majani. Good morning, NTV. I see people siphoning fuel from trucks working on roads. Any hotline to report such? Charles, please, you can take note. In Chitinta, the opposite water office, a pipe burst and it took more than 5 hours to be fixed. Does this show responsibility? Okay, who is this? My question is it true that all vehicles and trucks can access all tarmac roads in the country, especially feeder roads? This is because I am not seeing any signage for which tonnage is accepted on the road. 2, why does National Water modernize by installing ground hydrant valves or underground valves and outlets in their main lines along roads so as to assist? Why doesn't? You must have missed something. Roger, I missed a word in your message. Let's just respond to those. Let's respond to those. It's a few minutes to the top of the hour. We're soon signing out. Yes, labor maintenance. Charles, what happened? Okay, as you come to it.
Yes, the labor maintenance is I think what he was asking for is actually on the access roads. Just to let you know, we have different hierarchies of roads. We have the access roads, which are the community roads, which are within the communities. Then we have the district roads, we have the urban roads, and then we have the national roads. From his assessment, I think he's talking about the access roads, that they don't have adequate maintenance programs. And I think that the access roads fall under the jurisdiction of the different local authorities under the Ministry of Works. So unfortunately, it's not something that we look after, but we will look into that. I'll make a report.
Did you understand the hydrant? There's a lot of technical language there.
Maybe the customer wants to see a bit modern assets, but I'm trying to renew all our assets and facilities, but most importantly the ones that are there working, and slowly we'll be able to replace with.
For those that didn't understand, what is that hydrant?
I think they are fire hydrants. These are facilities we use for fighting, where the fire brigades can draw water from in case there's any fire outbreak in the area. But most of them that we have put across the city are functioning, and slowly maybe we're replacing them with the new ones. Maybe they haven't been spread across the network, but we are renewing most of our.
Finally, their water still.
Then there's water for, I think, the customer who raised the concern about the quality of water in Chisasi. I think it was that side of Chisasi. It could be a localized problem. Maybe we could share the details of the customer on the Facebook so that we follow it up. But what we've been doing in the last 1 week is to clean up the system. there could be some places whereby you find that they haven't been get water for some time, and in the process of cleaning it up, maybe some of the water could have, but we could get the details of the customer and make sure that we have it fixed.
Thank you so much. Charles, please, you can give viewers that number they can call in case they want to inform you about something that may damage the road.
It's a toll-free number, 0800 100 811.
0800 100
811.
811.
And then the other one is 0714 651 187.
All right, gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for creating time to come and appear on this show and throw some light on